National Headache Month. So we wanted to share not just essential oil remedies, but some additional remedies and what you can do to prevent migraines. So Erin, I'd love to hear more about how did you become an expert in headaches?
Well, I don't think anyone wants to be an expert in headaches, but I used to have migraines for years and years. 4 or 5 days a week, I would have either headache or a debilitating migraine. It was really put me out of commission more than I'd like to
Oh
say.
my
So
God.
I,
How old were you when that
I,
started?
I was a teenager. Like a lot of people, it started to come on when my hormones started to get out of whack as a teenager. And then, I was eating like pizza in the school cafeteria, Diet Coke, and staying up all night. So that certainly didn't help. As I kind of got some of those lifestyle factors under control, they got a lot better, when I started adulting, if you will. But they were still, I would still call them like the most inconvenient headaches, because they would always pop up if I had a big trip and I had jet lag, or a big project at work and I skipped lunch because I was working through it, or a presentation to give and I was really stressed. It seemed like anything out of routine would push me over the edge and cause one. So I was always living in fear of when that next migraine would strike. And I think a lot of people can relate. I would actually turn around and drive home if I forgot my medication, because
Oh,
you know
wow.
it would be a disaster. So that luckily is in the past, because at some point I realized that it all comes back to a lot of internal things like gut health, parasites, heavy metals. And as I started to chip away at those, I got not only rid of my headaches, my energy got better, just feeling a lot more resilient to those kind of daily stressors and triggers that we can't control, like weather patterns. And weather changes are a problem for a lot of people who suffer from migraines. When those thunderstorms come through town, that'll be like cause throbbing in your head. So just stuff like that we can't control now. I'm not have to be afraid of those kinds of things anymore, just through building internal resilience to all those. So that's what I help with people with now, is looking, beneath the hood, looking at some of those deeper reasons, those root causes of why your body's out of balance, what your body's trying to tell you when it's saying, hey, pay attention to me, you have
Yeah.
migraine, and what can we learn from that to actually improve your health and not just cover it up and not just constantly trying to soothe and treat the symptoms.
That's so impressive. How did you go from A to B, from not leaving home without your medication to understanding the underlying root causes?
Well, long story short, I actually had to get a lot worse before I got better. No one ever told me that it was possible to get better from migraines. I just thought it was something you had to live with and manage your whole life. My mom had them when I was growing up, so I saw her suffering and missing out on things a lot. So I had it in my mind that that was just something that you had to deal with. But because I had all these underlying issues going on, things actually progressed to a point where I remember I was 27, and you shouldn't feel like this when you're 27, but I would just come home from work and definitely couldn't make dinner. I couldn't even have a conversation with my boyfriend, though. I would just lay on the couch and just be like, wake me up when it's
Wow.
tomorrow. I was not functional at all. And then I started having like radiating pain throughout my body. So that was all from like malnutrition, because I wasn't absorbing my food for a couple of years. And yeah, that was the wake up call to me to say, I can't live the rest of my life like this. I'm in my 20s. I should, have energy. I should be able to do fun things. Shouldn't live in fear of migraines and things like that. So that was when I really put my foot down and started to educate myself about functional nutrition. I went back to school to study functional diagnostic nutrition, and just spent hours and hours and tens of thousands of dollars trying different modalities on myself, and then starting to
Yeah.
learn how to help other people. And that's really what helped me. And then that's why I want to go around giving people hope and letting them know that there is an option to get rid of them, because like I said, nobody ever let me know this was a possibility, or I would have done it a lot earlier.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
hope to save people that trouble. Yeah.
No, and I'm so grateful to have you on, because I can talk about essential oils, but I'm curious. You mentioned diet, you mentioned other things. Can you talk about what worked? What you
Mm-hmm.
tried that actually was successful? And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to share kind of why you think it was successful.
Yeah, well, it worked for me, and it's also working for our clients today. We do kind of the same basic things. So I start with the digestive system and make sure that's working. And
Yes.
sometimes even, somebody doesn't necessarily have digestive complaints at all. But then once we start to look deeper, we can see that they're not digesting their fats, and that will then in turn mess up your hormones.
Yes,
You know, for
yes.
example, or they're not absorbing their nutrients. So then they're deficient on some things that you just can't guess. So if you look online at like migraine supplements or whatever, they'll always say B vitamins and magnesium and CoQ10, but until you actually test and see what someone's deficient in, like I just tested that this year, and I wasn't deficient in any of those, but I had other antioxidants that I was missing, and calcium that I would never know if you didn't look a little bit deeper. But for me personally, like digestive health was a really big one, and that in turn messes up your hormones. So then I was getting menstrual PMSE migraines, which is really common. And then heavy metals and toxicity was a problem for me, and a problem for a lot of migraine sufferers, because, and you'll know this if you're like really sensitive to
Smells.
cleaning smells or perfumes, and that's something that I hear a lot of times will trigger that alone, like a whiff.
Yeah,
So
right.
perfume in the office will send them into a migraine attack for days, which is horrible. That's a horrible way to live, because you just can't control those kinds of things, but your body's telling you that it's had enough of those
Toxins.
toxic chemicals
Yeah.
and it can't handle anymore. So it's like, well, we need to look at your drainage pathways and your elimination pathways and make sure you're sweating and all those other lovely things to help leave
Well,
the
no, and
body.
we talk about that a lot. It's almost like, if you have a cup that's like, within a centimeter of being full, and you put one more drop of water, it's going to overflow. So what these people, they already have either toxic overload, more than they can clean out, or their drainage pathways aren't open, so they can't even eliminate what they have. So that's why everything pushes them over the edge.
Mm-hmm. It's all connected. If your gut's not working, that's not going to work. If
Yeah.
if your liver's busy processing alcohol or medications or anything else like that, it's not going to process estrogen very well. So
Yes.
everything's like tied together. And what I help people do is just to connect those dots and then see, okay, there's a lot of options, a lot of opportunities. What do you do next? What's most important to do next? And we'll just take it step by step from there.
Absolutely. And so what are some of the other factors that you look at before we kind of jump into the remedies?
Remedies. Another thing that impacted me, and I see it with people too, when it comes to detoxification and stuff like that, is you might be wondering, like, how come I'm dealing with this and my friend is fine? We work in the same
Yes.
office, but those smells
Yes.
bother me and they don't bother them. I mean, one of it's just like lifetime accumulation, but two of it is there's a genetic component of, certain pathways and enzymes being disadvantaged, if you will. So we can look at that, in both genetics and in real time, what's going on today, and then support your body to be able to do its job better. Like, I don't think everybody's created equally.
No,
Sometimes,
absolutely not.
or some of us are more affected by those kinds of things than other people. So we can figure out what's going on. And actually, I think that's one of many reasons why you see it running in families and stuff like that too, because I have the same
Snip.
detox issues that my
Yeah.
mom has.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
that's a great, thank you for connecting that dot. That's really helpful for people. It's not that it's inherited, it's that you inherit certain challenges, and therefore it
Mm-hmm.
makes it harder for you to feel, headache free.
Yeah. But not impossible. We can figure it out.
Yes, and you're a great resource. Are there any other hurdles like stress or systemic inflammation that you see as kind of common patterns?
Yes, since you mentioned stress, I mean, back when I had migraines and I was maybe I'm still type A, but I was especially type A back then. The last thing I wanted to hear was to relax, or that stress had anything to do with it. Like, that's kind of offensive to hear, but the truth is, we're all so busy that we don't give our bodies time to heal, and reacting to different things, whether it's at work or traffic or whatever else. We're always on edge and fight or flight mode, so we aren't having the time to digest our food and repair ourselves and things like that. So I do see that as a problem, and something that we really have to support people in. It's like self-care is very trendy now. Everybody knows they should be doing it, but somehow it's still very difficult to
I
actually make
used
it
I
happen.
used to joke. I mean, I could take a nap, but the laundry still needs to get done, and dinner
Yeah.
still needs to get made. Yeah, it sometimes feels stressful to be told, "Oh, you just need to, relax."
Yeah. And I mean, even, I deal with this too. Like we all deal with it. We need support systems. Like I have people I go to that remind me and I remind them and, have some accountability to make time in a quote busy full week to now my thing is floating. So I'm floating every day,
Oh, that's
for
great.
example. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and even those little self-care rituals, like a 5 minute
Mhm.
meditation when you wake up, or, I do it with essential oils throughout the day. It can just help us ground and, like, take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I really love oils in that aspect because it creates a routine. It's very like you can look forward to it. There's nothing.
Yeah,
It's very pleasant, enjoyable. Plus, you get the benefits of the actual oils, but there's this like ritual you can create with the smells, and it just brings your attention to the moment and things like that. So it's really like a prime opportunity to create those habits around taking a break at work or after work on your way
yes.
home and resetting and things like that. I think the aromatherapy plays an important role for that.
Yeah, especially if you're not overly stimulated and toxic. Can
Hmm.
can you talk a little bit more about the heavy metal component? Because I think that's such a big issue for so many people.
Well, examples are, and connecting the dots, not, pretty often I would say I hear people saying that their migraines either got way worse or came on a year or a few months after they had dental work done.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
Yeah, so that is a tough situation because dealing with mercury is a big ordeal, but at least to identify that and then, um, see a specialist for heavy metals if you want to, or at least start promoting like
Yeah.
lymph drainage and skin brushing and healthy elimination, like all those kind of things that your body needs to deal with that extra burden is really important. So the first step is just identifying that as a factor in
Yeah.
your story, which isn't always obvious, and doctors don't really tend to bring that up or even acknowledge that as an issue. So,
Yeah, no, that Christine Schaffner, who I work with, they see a lot of that, and it's interesting because the trigeminal nerves in the mouth kind of drain right
mhm,
here, which is where the vagus nerve is. So it can kind
mhm,
of deposit some of the metals in the nerve, and the nerves are really receptive to metals. So that can
mhm,
be correlated with pain and also pressure in the brain. So that's our parasympathetic blend is clove, which cleans up dental toxins,
mhm.
and lime, which penetrates. So that's one thing that you
That'd be
can
good though.
do. Yeah, and you really do need to. It's a process to remove the metals from your mouth. You really want to make sure your drainage pathways are open so that you're not mobilizing things that can't leave.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you help people with that.
Yes, I like the parasympathetic blend too for just stress and overwhelm feeling. Like that's one that I really like for like if I'm traveling or something like that, just to kind of like
Yeah,
reset.
it's interesting. It works on headaches too. Like if you, I mean, not migraines. Migraines are a different category, but kind of those minor headaches that are just dull and irritating, but you can maybe make it through the day. If
Hmm.
you put some just right on the temples, it helps with
Hmm.
that kind of headache.
Hmm. And I saw you have a migraine relief blend too now. I
We
haven't tried that one.
do. What's really interesting? So I got a concussion, and I didn't know I had a concussion until I was up in the air, and 3 hours into the flight, I was vomiting uncontrollably, and I had like a headache I couldn't believe. And I was traveling to see a friend who had migraine, so I actually had migraine. Gallbladder is another one. Sometimes the gallbladder meridians can cause headaches. That's usually a headache like in front of the eyes.
Mm.
Parasympathetic, nerve repair, which is good for pain. And I just kind of smelled all of them. I really believe that you're drawn to what you need. And the migraine one smelled the best. And I swear to God, I pretty much I was like, forget it, I'll send her an oil. I put it all over, but it helped. It got me through the flight. Like I
Hmm.
made it, we landed in Kennedy. My kids were like, Mom doesn't look so good. So I'm like, yeah, you guys get the
Concussion.
bags. And,
Wow.
thank that, my guardian angels were with me because there wasn't a crazy long taxi ride. And then once I got to the hotel, I just slept and I kind of felt better. But yeah, it's so interesting. I wouldn't have known how good that was because I'm not prone to headaches. So
Hmm.
now I actually can say it was amazing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it really helped. I mean, it wasn't, for migraines, and I'm sure this is your experience too, it's not like it takes it from 10 down to 0, but even going from 10 to 3, like that's completely helpful.
That's helpful, and that's a good thing to talk about too, because if somebody waits till they're even an 8 or 9 or 10 or something like that, it's really hard to get it under control, even with medication. But we kind of have been in this bad habit. I definitely was, and I see this with other people where they're afraid to use their tools in their
Yes.
toolbox until things are pretty bad, because that's how you do typically with medications, just because, I mean, they actually tell you to take it earlier, but in reality, people wait till it's they can confirm like, yes, this is a migraine, because you only
Yeah.
get 6 in a month or something like that. And if you like wasted on one that wasn't going to be bad, then you don't have enough for the rest of the month. So it was like this whole like fear and mindset around like waiting till it's really bad to like take something because you're worried about side effects or running out. But the thing with this natural relief options is you really want to do them early.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
before, even preventively, and at the very earliest twinges, or if you feel like there's neck and muscle tension, if you feel like there's some head pressure, sinus pressure, anything that's like a clue that this could be one, then let's go all out and pull out your whole arsenal of things that you do, whether that's oils or supplements and ginger and things like that, and do it early, and that's when it works the best.
Yeah, can you speak more to ginger and how you advise people take it and other supplements that, I mean, obviously what they really want to do is work with you and address their personal issues, but if they just, need a remedy to kind of help them um, in the
Ginger's
moment.
something to try, or magnesium, or easy things for people to just try on their own. And ginger, for example, I've had people like say, "Oh, I took a capsule and it didn't do anything." Well, okay, you have to take kind of a lot of ginger, but if you compare, there's actually been a clinical study comparing ginger with one of the most common medications, Imitrex, and it worked as well.
That's
The
amazing.
side effects. So the amount that people usually take is like 3 or 4 at the early sign, and then if it works at least somewhat, then you can repeat that later on. Be careful if you have like high or low blood pressure, or on blood pressure medication, because it can lower that, and talk to your doctor about new supplements like that. But in general, it's pretty safe, and
Do you have them take
works
it
really
as a
well.
capsule or eat it or take it as a pill? What do you think works best?
Well, there's nothing wrong with drinking it as a powder, but I couldn't swallow that much ginger.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like, so I think the capsule is easier
Yeah,
to
no,
just
and
actually
it's
do.
great as an oil too. That
Hmm.
one, and it also helps with nausea. Actually, I think ginger is the best for nausea. So if
Yeah,
you
it's very
can,
anti-inflammatory too. So that's
yeah,
why it works for the migraines, is it's helping with that, and the blood flow and everything like that. The other one, what did I say? Magnesium. Oh,
yeah,
magnesium's like for if somebody's prone to like tense muscles and shoulders, and it's pretty well known that magnesium helps, but a lot of people go wrong when they choose the actual form of it.
right.
Because if you just go to like the grocery store or even the health food store and buy some, a lot of times it's like magnesium oxide, which is a waste of your money and time and effort, because it doesn't even absorb very well in the body. So
Yeah,
magnesium citrate's another common one, which is okay, and some people like it, especially if they tend towards being a bit constipated. It can help them, but to really get the actual magnesium absorbed and useful for what we're trying to do, something like a magnesium malate or glycinate is more helpful, because it's absorbed really well. It doesn't irritate the digestive tract, so you can actually take more of it, and then we can talk to somebody about how much to get to be effective. But those are things to do. That one you could do like preventatively, or if you just feel like a lot of stress in your muscles, that will help relax it.
do you have a brand that you like?
A few. Since we're here in Seattle, we can support local. I'll say Seeking Health is
Okay. No, no, I was just
is a
wondering,
great.
like
Yeah,
biotics and standard process.
yeah. Designs for Health or Seeking Health are good.
Okay, great.
Yeah, as long as there's not a lot of fillers and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
you just have to read the label, because most supplements are for magnesium are one of the other forms, like magnesium oxide and stuff like that. So if you find somebody that's bothered to put the good
Yeah.
one in there, that's probably okay.
That's awesome. Well, you've given us so much amazing information. How and you're giving us a free gift that we'll put
Yeah.
in the show notes, which is you want to tell us about that?
Oh yeah, sure. So we talked a bunch of different things people can do today with oils and meditation and ginger and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know about you, but when I don't feel well, I kind of lay on the couch. I forget to drink water. I forget to like feed myself. I just kind of like blah. I don't do anything. So I had this idea to create a checklist for myself. When I'm sick, I will take myself away, drink water, do this kind of thing, and then all I have to do when I don't feel well is pull it out and follow it. So it's so much easier. And this actually came from my engineering world because this is why we have standard operating procedures and checklists in like a manufacturing plant, for example, because you don't want to have to recreate the wheel every time. You don't have to think.
Yes.
You don't have to be sitting in front of your computer Googling if you have a headache. So we have a migraine relief checklist. You just print it out. You can customize it. We have some starter ideas. You can fill in more. But basically, you're making your plan of like, these are the things that work for me, or these are the things I want to try when I feel the migraine coming on, when it's already there, or even when you're recovering. So like, how do you take care of yourself and feel better afterwards? And it's just a great tool to have in your drawer at work or a bathroom or something like that, so that you're prepared and you don't have to think or
No,
Google or
that's
anything like that when you don't
wonderful.
feel good, because I know that you don't want to, because I wouldn't want to either.
No, brilliant, brilliant. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more or work with you?
Well, absolutely. You can Facebook message me or email me at erin@engineeringradiance.com, and happy to chat with you if you have any questions or hook you up with some more information about how we can help and things like that.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. I mean, those two pieces, like the right kind of magnesium and ginger, fabulous. You
Yeah.
save people countless of hours in pain. So thank you
Okay.
for your time.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Okay.